Watch my hand loose, then a sudden burst of speed. Alright, today our main topic is friction. Many players want to execute this kind of explosive loop, but the prerequisite is having the ability to generate heavy friction. Really, biting the ball is difficult. Smashing or power looping is actually simpler, you just have to hit forward. Generating friction is harder than just generating power. First, let's talk about adding more spin. There's a common misconception. We're not talking about topspin balls, which are hard to add more spin to. We are referring to looping against backspin. Against topspin, you can just hit through it, focusing on speed and placement. For all players who struggle with friction, you must let your contact point be a little lower. When I lower my contact point, it's much easier to generate friction on the ball. So, how low should you let it drop? After the ball bounces, don't loop it at the start of its descent. Wait for it to drop a bit more, contacting it late in its descent. This will help you sync your power much better. Trying to sync your power while taking the ball at the peak of the bounce requires a high level of skill. So, to master friction, the first key point is to slow down your timing. Second, friction must be explosive and concentrated in a short moment. Your current stroke is at a constant speed, with no braking motion. This makes it very difficult to generate heavy spin. If you can get that feeling of accelerating and then snapping to a stop, the ball will be extremely spinny. For good friction, that final squeeze of the racket grip at impact is the most critical part. Watch how I squeeze the grip right here. See how distinct that is? If I don't use that squeeze, the ball has almost no spin at all. Why are so many players' serves not spinny? It's because that final squeeze of the grip isn't pronounced enough. Okay, hold my racket. Your brushing motion is one constant speed. But my power feels like it's trying to burst out of your hand. That's the feeling right there. That's how you get heavy spin. The final stopping motion must be powerful. You must put force into this final part of the motion to make the ball spin. You're still not relaxed enough before the stroke. You need to be loose first, then accelerate with an explosion of power. Let the racket head lead your arm's acceleration. Don't lead with your shoulder. Let the racket head whip out first. How I'm training him is exactly how you should train yourself. Relax, and then rotate forward. Don't rotate backward. Are you keeping that closed racket angle? Do you feel the racket head whipping forward? Imagine your racket whipping forward from this starting point. Don't muscle it with your arm, let the racket face do the work. Is anyone else in the same situation, swinging at a constant speed and unable to accelerate? Let's solve this acceleration problem together. Let's do it together. I'll help you find that feeling. Relax, stay completely loose. Your shoulder should be loose, too. Your grip is still too tight. Relax, as if you aren't even holding the racket. When you swing forward, you need the feeling of breaking free from my hand. Imagine someone is holding your racket and you have to snatch it away quickly. Second, during your loop, keep your racket face closed, almost parallel to the table surface, and maintain that angle through the shot. Great shot. You're clearly biting the ball now. That's the right feeling, much better. See how the ball has a clear arc after it lands? Remember, when I'm holding your racket, you're not using your arm to break free. The entire racket should feel like it's being snatched out of my hand. If you use your arm, you can't use your fingers. The feeling is like someone is grabbing your racket and you have to snatch it out. Focus on snatching the racket, not yanking your arm. Let me explain a principle. If you just brush upwards on the spot, there's a problem. The ball will have no forward momentum off your racket. But if you brush forward with a closed racket angle, it will be spinnier and have more forward drive. I'm brushing forward through it. See that spin? Compared to a simple upward lift, this generates significantly more spin. If you don't brush with that forward drive, your ball won't kick forward after it bounces. It's just like my hook serve. If I only brush upwards, it won't kick. I have to go forward and up for the ball to really jump. You must combine it with a forward motion to get more spin. Your own loop must brush through the ball with forward drive. Why is my ball so spinny? Because I master the transition from being relaxed to explosive. How can you make it faster? Keep your elbow stable. If your elbow lifts up, it's wrong, because we're just focusing on pure friction, not the full power shot yet. The key to friction is this: your arm drops, then stops at the contact point. but your elbow stays stable. It acts as a pivot. Keep the racket angle closed. Very good, that ball already had a lot of spin. Look, if you loop by lifting your whole arm like you used to, I just have to close my racket angle slightly and I can block it easily. Compared to this explosive, concentrated friction, the effect is worlds apart. Everyone, remember that our friction must drive forward through the ball. You have to keep the racket angle closed. See? That's how you get the ball to spin. If you only brush upwards, the ball loses all its forward kick by the time it reaches your opponent. How do you accelerate? My elbow has to be stable, acting as a pivot, so my forearm can accelerate. If my whole elbow moves, the entire stroke becomes slow. Relax, then accelerate. Good. Use this motion. This is our first step. Once you have this, add your body rotation and a bit more forward power from your arm. Don't go up, drive forward. Your hand and arm action is great. If you can add your body rotation, it will be perfect. The feeling in your hand is lifting the ball and then driving it forward. This is a type of ball feel. An amateur player's form can't possibly be as textbook perfect as a professional's. That's just not realistic. So what should you focus on? The feeling of relaxing, then gripping the ball, and then exploding with acceleration. For example, as long as I get that feeling of gripping the ball, I can land the shot even if my form looks a bit wild. Many players shouldn't be too rigid with textbook form. If you're a beginner, a good foundation is great. But if you already have an established style, we'll find that feeling of friction within your existing stroke. This way, even if the rest of your follow-through isn't perfect, you can still get the ball on the table. Because you don't have a coach feeding you multi-ball every day to rebuild your stroke over 6 months to a year. That's too difficult. What you need to do now is work within your current technique to adjust the core elements, timing, spacing, and the ratio of brushing to hitting. Find that feeling at the moment of contact. Let's talk about that golden feeling of getting that perfect bite on the ball. Feel the difference. This is power from your arm, and this is power from the racket itself. The difference in force is huge. You need that feeling of the racket wanting to fly out of your hand. The acceleration for friction absolutely does not come from the arm, it comes from the racket head and face. A ball hit with just the arm is too slow. Second, how do you find that feeling of acceleration? When your forearm drops straight down in the backswing, it's easier to brush. If your forearm goes straight back, your arm will easily tense up and you won't feel any acceleration. What is acceleration? To put it simply, it's going from relaxed to tense. Watch my hand loose, then a sudden burst of speed. The greater the difference in speed between your backswing and your forward swing, the more spin you can generate. So, your arm must have this feeling of being relaxed and then suddenly accelerating. This is the only way to add heavy spin. The third point is that you must keep your racket face closed over the ball. Some of you might disagree, because some coaches teach you to open the racket angle against backspin. But that just teaches you to scoop the ball, and that kind of shot is completely ineffective. This leads to two problems: you can't lift heavy backspin, and when you try to add power against light backspin, you'll scoop it off the end of the table. That's just irresponsible coaching, isn't it? Keep the racket angle closed throughout the entire stroke. During the backswing, at contact, and in the follow-through, keep that angle consistent. This guarantees you can generate friction while ensuring the ball lands on the table. So, we're going to brush forward with a closed racket angle. We are brushing with forward drive, not just lifting. You must drive through the ball as you brush it. Look, if I make my racket angle vertical, even if I brush it and accelerate, why does it hit the net? Because there's no forward momentum. Now, if I open my racket and hit forward, of course it will go on the table, but that's not a loop. Think of me as the ball. You need to give me a heavy kick with your legs to get me over the net. If you just shove me with your arm, the forward power isn't enough, and I'm going to drop right into the net. So your stroke must go forward and up. The second point is to close your racket angle. Just think, do you get more spin by brushing with a closed angle or an open one? Obviously, the closed angle generates more spin. That's why when you watch professional players loop on TV, their racket angle is always closed like this, isn't it? Because only with this closed angle can I guarantee the ball will land when I use power, while also being able to lift a heavy backspin ball. If you close your racket angle and the ball goes into the net, that proves you aren't generating enough friction. You need this friction to create a true topspin loop. That's what forces your opponent to make errors and allows you to win the point. Simply lifting the ball upwards is useless.